Audientes has closed the books for the first quarter of 2022. I'm sharing the studio with CEO Steen Thygesen. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Martin.
So we're going to let you do a presentation since
Yeah.
it's the first time you're here in our studio as well. We want to learn about your company. And after you're done, I'm going to sneak back in and ask you a few questions.
Sounds great.
Get going.
Well, thank you and welcome to this introduction, as Martin said, and the Q1 financial report update from Audientes. Audientes is a Danish consumer medtech company. We are calling ourselves because we are acting in the space where two large industries these years are coming together in creating a new market that we are one of the I would say, the really focused and leading actors within. We have put together a little flow of material today that hopefully will provide a very good overview of what our Audientes is aiming at doing, what our mission is, and where we are right now in our going to market with our initial product. Of course, we'll look at Q1 results, and then we'll go back and look at where we're then heading for, you can say, the remainder of 2022 and also beyond that. So hearing loss is one of the world's very large you can say health-related issues for people in the number of 500 million to maybe towards 1 billion people today. But around 500 million people has what we call disabling hearing loss. And Audientes is focused on helping people around the world with an affordable solution they can access and immediately start to use once they get access to our solution. We were founded back in 2014 in Copenhagen, and we were listed at the First North Exchange in Copenhagen in 2020. So we have been ramping up since late last year with the production, and we are now, right now, you can say we're in the market, we are selling, we are mass manufacturing, but we started sales initially in the first quarter, just towards the end of first quarter, actually. So India is our key market of focus, but we do have our sights on many other markets, initially in the Asian region, where there is a lot of demographic similarities between, you can say, people with hearing loss and the lack of available quality solutions. So, as I mentioned just before, hearing loss affects around 500 million people today who has what we call disabling hearing loss. But the WHO predicted this number to increase rapidly over the next 30 years towards almost 1 billion people in the year 2050. And those are people with really, you can say, heavy hearing loss, let alone the millions of people that also has mild hearing loss, which is a number of more or less the same size. But the problem is today the industry only sells around 17 million units every year. So there's a big gap between those who need a solution and those who currently has a solution. And why is that the case? Well, one of the key reasons is the high cost of getting a hearing aid. But it's also the complexity of having it fitted, and also there's a severe lack of people who can help individuals with hearing loss around the world, so basically experts in hearing health. And for many people around the world, maybe outside Scandinavia and so on, you do not get any subsidies for a hearing aid, so you have to forge out significant amounts to pay for a hearing aid, and then once you have it, you have to keep it up to date with batteries and so on, and for many people, those issues lead to people actually going and buying inexpensive amplifiers, which are really not good for the hearing as it destroys, you can say, areas of good hearing. So what we have done in Audientes is we have looked at this complex ordinary process to acquiring and having a hearing aid fitted, and we've looked at how can we improve this and make it much more simple and easier for people to get all of this done just by basically getting a product. So what we have done, we have digitized the entire process and built it in to what essentially looks like a consumer device today. So basically a headset that has all the issues around hearing aid kind of test and hearing aid fitting and an ongoing adaptation and fitting. We have built that into one product. And we call that product Ven, which of course in Scandinavia we know what that means. It's someone that is always by your side when you need it. And around the world, it's a name that we have tested and found out that actually is quite good at, you can say, using as our lead foray into the market. So Ven by Audientes is this device that I have with me today. It's a classic neck-worn, you can say, designed for a hearable. So essentially it's a device that is worn around the neck. And when you're a man like me, I can put it under my collar. And then I have the earbuds that I put in my ear. And off I'm going. And essentially I have a fully fledged hearing aid that looks like something slightly different. And that's the really exciting thing we believe in our concept. You can say to all intents and purposes, Ven is a complete hearing aid solution for 2 ears. That's what you call a binaural fit. So whereas normally when I talk about 17 million units shipped every year, that's actually just, you can say, you need one for the right ear and one for the left ear. So basically you need 2. So the actual number of people who today has a solution is probably a lot less than what you can say the numbers indicate. But what it means is that when the people get our solution, they have support for hearing loss on both ears. So it's using industry recognized fitting algorithms called NEL and L2. So the actual fit, the adaptation for the individual hearing loss is at par with really, you can say, traditional quality hearing aids. In addition to that, it has all the features of a media-centric device. So it has got the kind of streaming sound from, for example, Spotify, or from phone calls, or even from a TV if one sets that up and uses that device for listening to TV. So for people with hearing loss, this actually addresses a lot of the issues around not just something that is useful on a day-to-day basis, but also when you are indulging yourself in listening to music and video and talking to people. And then, of course, it comes with all the features you can say around a Bluetooth headset. It's rechargeable. It has got, you can say, the ongoing low maintenance cost because of it is a self-contained solution. Doesn't need any ongoing battery changes or anything like that. So a complete offering is what we are bringing to market now. And as it happens this is the product in a box. It's a mass-produced unit. And we started in January to really ramping up to mass production, and we started to ship into the Indian market in basically hundreds of quantities initially in first quarter. Now we are doing several thousands per month. So we are now in this flow enabled by the fact that we got the approvals also secured, and we now have signed enough partners to really start going out in a good volume in retail in India and introducing the device to the market. So we are essentially, we believe, in a really good space right now. The results of the first quarter, you can say, were quite modest because we really did only start to ship products at the very end of the quarter. So we made our initial invoices. We invested as we had planned to do, both in product completion and ongoing R&D for that sake, for the next, you can say, product to come. But essentially, we are very much on track with what we are planning to accomplish in this first quarter. If we sort of look a bit ahead in the year, we now are in a position where Ven is being sold in hearing aid clinics across India. We have around 350 points of sales that all carry this product, and we are from then on going to, of course, add more retail outlets to it, but we're also investing quite significantly in the B2C space, which I will come back to in a little while. Our expectations for the year, we remain still focused on creating the initial revenue between 23 to 20 million Danish kroner, and it's mainly generated from India, but there are also opportunities we're looking at elsewhere in that region. And of course, sales will be B2B, so wholesalers and chains, as well as Amazon, Flipkart, and other online marketplaces. So we are continuing to invest in going to market now in you can say to a high degree, but also we're going to invest ongoing in our product development for the kind of next generation products, which will be FDA kind of approved medical device products for the North American market to begin with. Just really to put a little picture on where are we. India is of course a huge country, but today we have, you can say, the accessibility from a product point of view in warehouses across 5 of the major Indian cities, and we really have retail partners spread across both north, south, east and west India. So we are now in this situation, and of course we have our headquarter in Hyderabad and also with staff in Delhi. So we are now in a position now to address the entire market, and of course it takes you can say a lot of effort to serve a market of the size of India. So we're going to invest significantly in the Indian market going forward. But while doing that, as I said, there are many opportunities in the countries around India, in the Southeast Asian area, but also in China and Japan. So all these markets that has got some similarities is in our nearer term focus. But as I said, product development now is going on for entering the US market with an FDA-approved product in 2023. Reason for why that is exciting and interesting is that there's new legislation making its way through to the market that will mean that products like hearing aids, self-fitting hearing aids, like Audientes Ven, will be available in new retail outlets. For example, opticians, I would say even groceries and other outlets that today cannot market and sell hearing aids. So for us, that's a hugely interesting development that we are looking to be part of from the very outset. And then you can say, really sort of summing it all up, why is Audientes an interesting from an investment point of view? And I believe that we have set our sight on a market that is very large in its you can say sheer size, but it's also unaddressed to a remarkable extent. And we are one of the players that are really focusing on addressing this gap between those who has a hearing aid today and those who need it. And then over time, we will of course be, you can say, addressing other pockets of that whole opportunity space with offerings that are at different price points and different form factors. But the unique position in this high quality, low cost space is what we are focused on. We have expertise in our team from having developed products for emerging markets in the past in companies like Nokia, Microsoft and so on. So we are really, you can say, focused on creating great offerings for these very large markets. And then this all-in-one solution, Ven, I believe has got a lot of potential in the longer term, not just in India, but also in other markets where there is this need for alternative solutions that are easy accessible. And then that's, I would say, that's probably what I had prepared that we could cover today. And I would say, in addition to all of this about Audientes, where we are, we also have yesterday announced that we are going to make a marketplace change from having been listed at the Nasdaq First North Growth Market in Denmark to actually move to the Spotify stock market. And that's part of us really rolling out, you can say, our proposition to investors across the Nordic countries. We believe there's a lot of synergies between what Spotlight stands for and where it is in the market and what we are having to offer the investor space. So we're very excited about that. Of course, it's something that will happen later this year, but we are already now taking the steps to call for the extraordinary general meeting to get this approved, and then we're working with Sedamera on this sort of the whole process. So for us, that's another step in hopefully a very exciting direction for us all. And that's it. That was the sort of, you can say, all-in-one presentation about Audientes and our offerings and stance in the market.
Feels like you've done this before.
Well, I did it yesterday. So yes,
it was a very tight presentation. It was very interesting to listen to. My initial question, of course, is you've now started selling. You just we noticed in the revenue spots in the first quarter that your first sales, your first invoices have been received. How has the feedback been from customers?
Yeah, so of course we have, you can say, several layers of customers, but from our business to business customers, the retailers, the feedback, of course, is that they see this as a really nice completion of this project that some of them have been part of for years, because we have tested in the market different prototypes throughout the years, and now they see it finally coming together. Very nice offering, good sound. You can say, why did we pick that whole sort of retail channel space initially? And that's now what we are also learning, that people with hearing loss, they do need some counseling in the process. So the feedback is, user, you can say, accessibility and good user experience really is important. So for example, we made this decision to create an app for this product, which doesn't really need it, but we have made this, and that's a good thing because it has got very large buttons you can press on a screen, and you can see the graph and everything. So these things coming together, I think, is what people really like. So.
I was happy to hear that it was you were able to use it with other activities as well, such as listening to Spotify. Yes. or receiving phone calls. Does it have a microphone on it?
Yes, it has one on each side, and it basically uses, of course, that to pick up the ambient, you can say, sound and amplify that.
Of course.
And when you're using it as a speaker, you can say you can also for the phone, you can of course carry out phone calls through that as well.
Cool.
So
now you're ramping up to mass production, and you have an aggressive target of selling between 23 and 27 million Danish crowns for the year 2022. What would you say is the greatest challenge in sales right now?
The greatest challenge in sales, of course, is to actually get the products out in the hands of end users in enough scale that we are getting into this flow where we are not just selling in, but we are selling through. And of course, that a lot has to do with education of the sales channels and making sure that they get a good experience when they actually are selling it, that customers are providing, as you were asking for, good feedback and they're happy with it and so on. That is for us is the key things we need to master this year.
Sure.
And of course, you can say ramping up to that revenue amount, it will take place gradually throughout the next quarters. But again, we have been looking a lot of what is attainable, and we believe this is definitely within our possibilities today.
Are there any challenges with production? We have heard a lot of companies addressing shipping costs and bottlenecks in production facilities. Have you experienced anything like that?
Well, I would say it hasn't become easier during the last couple of years. That's for sure. We have had some challenges in Q1. Actually, after Chinese New Year, it took a while before the whole sub-supply network was up and running. I would say the critical components that we're using, we have them on stock in sufficient quantities. But some of the things that are produced just before actually assembling a Ven device, for example, we have had that just in time. Now we are a bit before time. We are creating basically buffer stock of those components. So the key thing for us is that, of course, we hope that China will find its way through handling the ongoing pandemic. But otherwise, I would say we are creating some inventory so we can address delivery and supply to our retail network throughout the year. So we hope to be at the you can say the edge of the front edge of the whole issue in that space.
I noticed in the presentation as well that you're still spending a lot of money on marketing and establishing your product on this market. Do you have any estimate of when you want to break even, or is that?
No, we published that also a few years ago now in relation with our IPO, that 2024 is when we can see this could be a break-even business. And it all has to do with, of course, we're moving from having been primarily a development-oriented company to now being both a development-oriented company and a commercial company. So we are, as you say, we are investing more in marketing now, online, offline, but really sort of giving that a good push now. And then at the same time, we have other things we need to, you can say, create to have products for the future as well.
Yeah. So 2024, and if you combine that to the timeline, you're supposed to have entered the US market by then, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Do you need to tweak the product in any way to make it more attractive for that customer base?
The product for the US market is going to be an kind of like an enhanced version of the Ven we have today. So it will be a medical device, kind of great hearing aid, which means that it has to be approved by the FDA. And right now we are looking at different form factor options for that.
All right.
So we are essentially looking at based on the feedback from Ven and everything else we have learned from the market, where is it that we should go with that? And so yes.
Are you expecting to have different margins going into that market? People are richer, but the product will also be more advanced. Will it be the same margins or higher?
Yeah, I would say there is a certain benchmark established in that market regarding what products in our space is priced at. So I think we will pick nicely into that, and it'll be a different set of customers probably that will buy it. And they may not be as price sensitive as maybe Indian customers are. So there might be a larger amount of those. I would say we don't expect major changes in that area actually. There is healthy margins around handling and offering from our side. Also in India for retailers there.
Why do you choose the US before Europe?
Well, partly it is because of this emerging opportunity with the new legislation being introduced. Europe is not yet at that stage where it is considering, you can say, opening up the different channels to carry hearing aids that are fitted So the US has introduced this concept of self-fitting hearing aids way before it's being on the agenda in the European market.
So people are more used to that type of product.
Yeah, but there's legislation on its way. There isn't legislation on its way in Europe yet. So that's why we are saying we think something will happen in Europe over time, or we will adapt our offering to the European kind of legislative space. But right now there's this opportunity emerging in the US that we think this is a perfect product for, because everything they're talking about in the US around pricing and accessibility, this is exactly what we have developed a solution for. And then also I would say the US is the world's largest e-commerce market.
Of course.
And they're used to buying products like this. So for us, it's a logical next step. India is also, of course, one of the countries that it's the world's second largest country in terms of e-commerce buyers. It's not the largest in terms of value, but there is like 300 million plus people buying many things online now in India. So this is also why we think India and e-commerce is a very good fit.
Of course.
So
I wanted to ask you a bit about you went through it quite quickly, the move from First North Denmark
Yeah.
to Spotlight.
Yeah.
What's behind the decision?
Well, of course, we have been treading our first steps as a listed company at the First North, and has been basically quite happy with how it has developed. We think that where we are right now, Sweden has a very mature and quite vibrant stock market for individual investors. And we believe that in order to kind of basically expand the access to our share story, have more liquidity in the trading in our stock, it is a really good move to sort of move towards you can say a stronger presence in Sweden. And in collaboration with our advisors in this area, we really have seen that Spotlight has a lot to offer companies like Audientes. And so we think it's a logical next step for us now.
Is it an easy step to take? Will the company reporting have to change in any way to be able to?
I think for our investors, it's a seamless step. They won't notice any difference. It's the same short code and it's the same ISIN code. They won't notice a lot of difference in that regard. For us, of course, we're having to carry that transfer together with our advisors. Now, unfortunately, I don't have to do everything in that regard, but it is, of course, something that has to happen. There's documents that has to be submitted and things. But we have a very, you can say, detailed plan for that. So we expect that to be carried out in sort of late July, early August timeframe. And then I think you can spot already now, and that's also, of course, why perhaps we're here today, but we are really trying to invest more in broadening the message about Audientes also in Sweden, and for that sake, the rest of the Nordic countries.
I think you've done a really good job of that today. Thank you so much for taking the time, joining me here today, and also bringing your product. It was so nice to see.
It's always nice to be able to show something you can say physically when you have been working on it for so long. So
I agree. I'm going to test it after the broadcast as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Steen.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for viewing today.
Thank you.